I'm Stephanie Reddy. Glad you guys are here with us for the warm-up presented by Ford, joined by Steve Smith and Candace Parker, both champions and both spectacular.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
I love that.
Glad you guys are here. And as
Spectacular.
Spectacular. 6 games in the association tonight, 2 right here on NBA TV for our doubleheader this evening. Starting off with the first of the 2, the Brooklyn Nets are hosting the New Orleans Pelicans. Kyrie Irving hoping to get things going at the Barclays Center. 2-4 so far. Dame Lillard in the nightcap. Portland on the road at Golden State. Dame Lillard shooting 80% for his three-pointers that are 30 feet or more. Warriors have yet to win at the Chase Center. 76ers playing without Joel Embiid. He's serving the second game of his suspension, but Ben Simmons looking to continue on the road to victory. Remember, they're 5-0, the only remaining unbeaten team left in the NBA. So much to dive into tonight. Lots of good matchups. I know that I'm looking forward to almost all of them. We know that, as we mentioned, Joel Embiid is out. They've been spectacular without him. Really, really good. But let's talk a little bit about why they've been good without Joel Embiid. What do you think the answer is, Steve?
I think spacing. I think and the guys understand now where to be. I think it's hard to have a Joel Embiid. Also, you have a Al Horford, a Ben Simmons. You have a Tobias Harris, and I think it's Richardson starting. That's a huge lineup. A lot of these guys need basketball touches and movement versus just standing there and they're not spot-up shooters. That's why I think the kid Korkmaz coming off the bench or starting or even playing a lot is a guy that's better fit to being able to be in the starting lineup. It's just that he can't guard anybody, Candace, but he can definitely flat out shoot and keep some space. Richardson's a guy who can knock down threes, but he's more of a slasher to me. Tobias is a guy I just think he needs to be in the flow. Touches, might not shoot the basketball, just need flow. And there's not a lot of flow when you have Embiid and also Ben Simmons at the start of the season, but I think they should, and it will be able to figure it out.
Well, after last week when we got off work early, Smitty, we headed over to the Atlanta Hawks game where they were playing the Sixers.
Yep.
And the first thing that we did notice was Al Horford and Tobias Harris. It doesn't seem like they know exactly what to do when Embiid is on the floor. When he's on the floor, Horford's averaging 11 points, and Tobias Harris is averaging 15.3 points per game. When he's off the floor, it's 24 points per game and 26 points per game. So you have 4 guys in your starting lineup that all like the same spot, left block. Tobias Harris, you got Embiid, you got Al Horford, and you got Ben Simmons. So trying to figure out spacing where everybody likes the same spots on the floor has been difficult for Philly, but they've managed to do it and are the only undefeated team left.
Candace, one of those guys, would you have them coming off the bench? Would it be Al Horford?
And Al Horford, for me, would be a guy that I would bring off the bench just because he is not that catch and shoot. He can catch and shoot. Tobias Harris can catch and shoot. I would start Tobias. I'd bring Al Horford off the bench. I would give Tobias Harris and Al Horford time with that second unit where they can be the focal point of the offense.
You mentioned Ben Simmons, Steve. How has his game evolved as he's matured in this league?
What I loved the other day, he knocked down 2 free throws at the end of the game. And to be a point guard and one of the best players, you got to want to be fouled. And I think that's what happened the other day against Portland. He wouldn't mind getting fouled. He's been working on his confidence is there. He's evolving because I think right now he's doing a good job of attacking. But I think in some way, he has slowed down. The game has slowed down for him. And I saw him down there on the block a little bit more. I love Ben Simmons down on the block. Anybody can pass on the block. I think he should be down there even more because guys can get some easier shots.
And to add to what you're saying, to me, when Ben Simmons misses a couple free throws is when it's really going to determine, has he improved his shot or is he confident in it? Because everything goes well when you hit those first couple free throws. But when you start missing a little bit and you have to kind of go back to the basics and trust your training, that's really going to be when people really understand where he's at with that part of his game.
How about the Phoenix Suns? Are we surprised at how they've come out of the blocks? I know it's early, so we have to temper our expectations, but were there any expectations for this team?
No, I had some expectations. I'm not saying they would make the playoffs in the West. I thought they would be better. But then when you have the suspension of DeAndre Ayton, I thought, oh, wow, this is going to hurt them. Give Monty Williams a lot of credit. Give Devin Booker. Give Aaron Baines. And also Ricky Rubio. Now you look at this team, they averaged 23.9 assists last year. They're averaging 28.3. So the ball is moving, and I think also Devin Booker plays better off the ball, and Rubio is the perfect match for him to get guys easier shots.
Well, on the offensive end, Rubio really comes in with that experience. He's had that playoff experience. He's played great basketball both overseas and here. But on the defensive end, I think he's underestimated. And Aiden hurts them offensively being out, but he was a liability a little bit defensively. And so having him out and being able to kind of establish who you are defensively, be able to get schemes, they're really doing a good job of taking away the dribble drive and really keeping people out of the paint, which allows them to get out in transition. And then Devin Booker is just unbelievable. I mean, to watch him play the basketball, play off the ball.
Yes.
And not to have to create every ounce of offense. Allow him to play, catch and shoot, be comfortable. He's really played great thus far this season.
Candace, and to your point, I think when you look at great scores, you look at his field goal percentage. He's shooting 49% and 47 for three. I thought last year he got his numbers, but he wore down a lot because he had to take volume shots. I love the way they're playing. And Aaron Baines is saying, I'm averaging 17 and 6 while DeAndre Ayton is out. He's taking advantage of his opportunity.
Well, I mean, it worked that double teaming in the offseason so it helped Devin Booker, huh? Did it help a little bit? It improved his three-point shooting.
You can't double team nobody in a pickup game.
Hey, Smitty,
Listen,
you're trying to win.
That's
a win
life,
is a win.
right? Come on, it's their best start in 6 seasons. You mentioned Monty Williams. We showed him a bit. How much credit does he deserve? Because it almost seems like you're seeing a cultural shift with this Phoenix Suns franchise.
I think Candace said it best. You add Ricky Rubio, but I think also the discipline and also the attention to details defensively. Last year I watched Phoenix, I said, okay, they're going to get scored on. Let's see what they're going to do in this end. They're going to get scored on. Now they're getting stops and multiple stops. And when you start seeing guys talking and pointing and the bench jumping up and clapping for stops, that means your team is really into it defensively. And that's Monty Williams, in my opinion.
And that's what it is. And it's getting players that are willing to buy into that system. I mean, everybody looks at Golden State as kind of the blueprint of what you want to be. Your culture is your players and what they will play for, your head coach and what they expect. And then also, I was a huge Cam Johnson fan. And I love that draft pick of him. I think he's a player that's going to develop. He's got size. He can shoot from the outside. So I think they made a lot of great moves this offseason that a lot of people didn't understand how great of a move it is, but they're respecting it now.
And Steph, for me and Candace, Kelly Oubre fits right in as that wing. It seems like he is extremely happy. Things are going well. He's playing off those guys. He's a slasher. His toughness, I love what he's doing in Phoenix.
People forgot about Kelly Oubre. He has that energy about him. He's kind of a glue guy. That's perfect. If you liked what you heard so far, there's a lot more to come. In fact, we want you guys to drop your questions for Steve Smith and Candace Parker. You can hit us up on Twitter at NBA TV. You may make the show.
Smitty, what are you looking at?
Stephanie was talking to me.
Oh, okay, I was just wondering.
Good answer.
Where are you looking at?
I was reading
answer.
the questions.
Oh, okay.
Ask the analysts.
Hit us up so we can get you guys involved in the show. And you know this young man, Taurean Prince, from the Brooklyn Nets. He's going to join us right here on the warm-up. We're going to hear from him at the Barclays Center. Back for the warm-up, taking a look inside the Barclays Center where the Brooklyn Nets are hosting the New Orleans Pelicans for Game 1 of our NBA TV doubleheader. Brooklyn Nets have tons of moving parts, lots contribute, and we're lucky to have one with us today. And we're joined now by Brooklyn Nets Taurean Prince. Hello, how are you? And glad you joined us. Thank you so much.
Most definitely. Thank y'all.
Excellent. So this season for you guys, the Nets, there have been high expectations set already before you even started. How do you feel you're moving along that path towards finding the success you want?
I think we're doing a great job coming in every day, doing what we need to do to get better. I think that's most important. We have a lot of new guys. Everybody's new, so we're just trying to gel and keep everything moving upwards.
Taurean, you've shot phenomenal from the three-point line this year, but Coach Atkinson has challenged you on the defensive end, and so far this season you've stepped up on that end. I know as an offensive player you can get in the gym and work on shooting, but as a defender, how do you improve that from season to season?
I think you just stick in the film room, do a lot of watching, get used to guys' tendencies, and also the weight room is very important to me. Just keeping that strength and keeping that longevity over the course of an 82-game season.
Candace mentioned you're shooting phenomenally from behind the arc. You've got career highs so far. I know it's early in the season, but you're shooting 44% from there, but also with your points and your rebounding. What is it that you found early this season that's been working for you?
A big word for me is consistency, just being an everyday guy. making sure I do the same thing, stick to my principles and stick to my rules as I go through the NBA season, and most definitely take care of my body so I can just do it every night.
Well, not to overreact, beginning of the season, everybody looks at standings. Smitty loves to look at standings early in the season with 2-1. But, you guys have struggled a little bit on the road. It's nice to be back at home. What do you think are causing those struggles on the road?
I just think again, it's a new team, new guys on the team, so we're just getting used to playing with each other, and we have to do certain things as far as details and not have those slight mental lapses and be able to finish games. And I think once we get to the point where we're able to do that, we'll come out on the other side of that.
4 out of 6 of your games actually decided by 4 points or fewer. You have a gentleman on your team by the name of Kyrie Irving who is known to be able to finish possessions. How important will his play be for you all to get to where you need to be?
Very important. We go as he goes. I think he knows that, and everybody else does as well. But most of all, his leadership has been amazing. His attitude towards the game and towards practice has been amazing. I think that's what keeps everybody's spirits high and everybody on the right track, and knowing that we'll get it together. So.
You all are playing a Pelicans team that is missing a player that everybody has waited to see in Zion Williamson. You would probably be tasked with guarding him. What do you see in what we've seen so far, and what do you think makes him so special?
He's a huge kid. I think his strength gives him an advantage over a lot of people. His touch. Hope he gets back soon so he's able to actually play and figure out his way through the league as well.
You all with the Nets have quite a bit of depth, especially when you get all of your players back on the healthy side of things. Right. How do you see that playing out? Because, for example, your role could change when players come back. Have you all discussed that at all? I know it's early.
No, not at all. I think we'd be doing ourselves a huge disfavor doing that. Kind of got to stick to our principles and what we're doing now. And when that time comes, I'm sure we'll all talk about it and figure out the best way to compliment everybody for the situation.
Well, every year is new challenges. Last year, you guys, the Nets exceeded expectations with a solid group of guys that just went to work every night. And this year, you guys brought in some pretty huge superstars, and Kyrie Irving, obviously Kevin Durant out until next year. How has Kenny Atkinson done a great job of kind of gelling that and changing from year to year?
Oh, man. I mean, that's just credit to his brain and how he processes things and how he's able to connect with his players. And I think it's easy to play for a coach that has the intensity he has, and he allows us to be ourselves on and off the court. And when you have a coach like that, it's easy to play hard for him.
All right, last question for you. For the game tonight, what can we expect? What will you all be looking to accomplish specifically against the Pelicans?
Keep a nice pace to the game, shoot our shots, and most of all, be more active defensively, pick up the intensity overall, and hopefully come out with the dub.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good one tonight.
Most definitely. Thank you, ladies.
All I can say is I love how even-keeled he was about not just what he's been doing, because obviously with his career highs this season, but the expectations for his team. The bar is here for the Nets based on what they added and what they did last year. What do you think is going to happen? Can they figure it out in enough time to make a huge dent in the East?
I don't know about a huge dent. I think they can figure it out enough so they can make the playoffs. And they should make the playoffs. And I think for them, it's going to take some time. But what I'm a little bit concerned about is that when you're not being able to win these games decided by 4 to 6 points at end of games, this is where a Kyrie and those guys got to be able to lead these young guys. Because I think they have guys that been through it last year who played hard, just couldn't get over the hump. And now you bring in that superstar who's won championship. I want to see Kyrie like the other day where he had 9 assists going into the fourth quarter. If Kyrie can go into the fourth quarter close to double digits, then it's Kyrie time. And that's when I think they play better. And I think also right now, it's early, but they play better with Jared Allen starting. I think for me is they're going to have to find a way to play off Kyrie. And Kyrie's going to have to trust some of these guys to give them the basketball, throw ahead to a guy like Taurean Prince, throw ahead to Karis LeVert, throw ahead to Spencer Dinwiddie, and let those guys go and him finish in fourth quarters.
And that's the biggest thing. I think it's the trust. When you bring a superstar in like Kyrie that is capable of doing it all, is capable of getting any shot that he wants, is capable of isolating on every play and it being considered a great shot. I mean, an early stat in the first 2 or 3 games of the season is when Kyrie had 50, he had 37, and then he had 26, and they won the game, he had 26. So I think it's exactly that, is finding a balance of incorporating everybody, incorporating the other guys, and then when the game is on the line, being able and being willing to step up and make the right play. And that's what you have a Kyrie Irving for, and he's done that time and time again in his career.
So here's the question.
Offensively, Kyrie has to do it other than making shots.
And I think it's also on the defensive end. That's going to be a huge jump for him if on that end, because it seemed like Ja Morant got a little bit of confidence when he was playing against, as you spoke about last week, a little bit of confidence when he was playing against Kyrie Irving, who is one of the best point guards in the league, but on the defensive end may not be. So I think in order for them to be able to get out in transition and to get those open looks, they got to be better on that end as well.
That's a really good point. And I think that as a leader, you both know this, sometimes you have to lead by example, and defense really sets the tone for your team. Now, they're facing a New Orleans Pelicans team who is obviously without Zion Williamson. We were nervous that Brandon Ingram may not play. He stepped out of the last game in the second quarter with a
end guard, one of the best perimeter players on the other end, and is knocking down the three-point shot, is getting in, getting rebounds. He had 12 the other night from the guard position. So he's a player that I've always liked, and I think he's going to be a great fit with the Pelicans for years.
And I think also, Candace, to add to it, we talk about Zion, we talk about Brandon, we talk about Josh Hart, Lonzo, but their best player to this date is Drew Holiday, and he has not been Drew Holiday of old. He's only averaging like 14 points, shooting 36 and 32 from three. They have to find a way, and maybe the nagging injuries is slowing him down, or maybe the style of play, but they need Drew Holiday to be Drew Holiday of last year. In the last couple of years, he's been for the Pelicans.
Well, he is trying to lead defensively. He's first in deflections, which helps the team. That's something they have to hang their hat on, right? They're number 1 in the NBA in that category. We'll see how that
we can
goes
really
for them.
tap that ball.
Andre Drummond. You ever heard of this guy? Last 3 games, 20-20 performance for him. In fact, the last 4 out of 7 for the big man, hoping to lead Detroit to a victory.